Well, uh, Caitlin, tell me who you are and what you do, and why are you at Piedmont Land Conservancy?
Well, I am the Associate Director and General Counsel at Piedmont Land Conservancy, and I've been there since 2000. I practiced corporate law in Los Angeles and in Greensboro before then. And the reason I now work for the Conservancy is that it helps me achieve a dream, which is to help protect the space like the space we're standing in right now.
Wow, well, that's great. It's wonderful to have that background. They've done all the different things. I understand we've got a new preserve, the Brown Knight Preserve?
The Knight Brown Nature Preserve in Rockingham County. And it is near Ballew's Lake, if you're familiar with that. That's a large lake that is actually in Forsyth, Stokes, and Guilford County.
And it's a Duke Power Lake.
A Duke Power Lake that provides cooling water for its steam plant, a coal-fired plant on Ballew's Creek.
Okay. Well, tell me about the Knight Brown Preserve. How big is it? What's there?
The Knight Brown Preserve is 148 acres, and it was gifted to the Conservancy in August by Cecilia Brown, who inherited the property from her longtime partner, Paul Knight. Paul Knight owned a lot of the property, and he had inherited that from his family, who had farmed the area for many years.
How long ago was it farmed, do you think? I mean, all of the east has been cut over at some point. I assume that this is pretty much forested, but...
This is very forested and also very steep, which is one of the reasons that it has a lot more of the natural features that you might not find in another area right beside it. Because of the steep terrain, a lot of the trees weren't cut over, so there's some trees that are maybe 100 years old. There's huge populations of umbrella magnolias, which are somewhat unusual. There's mountain laurel. There's a very diverse herb layer, which is exciting to us as a conservancy.
Yeah, I understand that Ken Bridle, the stewardship director, particularly liked the property.
He did. Ken went out. When we first got the opportunity to look at receiving this, our first question was, what is the conservation significance of the property? And that's really the first question we ask any time we're presented an opportunity like this. So the way we determined that was to go out with Ken, and he was excited about the wildflowers. He said there were more lady slipper orchids on this tract than he's ever seen on any other property. So
Wow.
that's really saying a lot given Ken's experience with an area.
Yeah, that is really remarkable. So it really shows how land can come back, doesn't it, after being farmed?
It does. It's exciting, and it's exciting to us to think about keeping it as a preserve so that even more things will come back. It's hard to know what we might find in another 100 years.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now tell me a bit more about Ms. Brown, if you can.
Ms. Brown, Cecilia Brown, is a planning commissioner for the county of Santa Barbara. So in that capacity, and just in terms of her long-time commitment to the environment, really, she wanted to do the right thing with this property. When she inherited it, she didn't want to see it develop. There's some property around it that she also inherited that is already drawn up as a subdivision and might be sold, or will be sold, but she wanted to make sure that this property is preserved. So she found us on the internet. She did some research. I picked up the phone one day in May, and she said, this is Cecilia Brown from Santa Barbara, and I might have some property that you might be interested in. And that led to her making a visit. We got together in the office, talked about her objectives, talked about what we'd be likely to do as the long-term steward of the property. And then at the early August, we were deeded the property, lake frontage. And it's just a great piece. It has some trails already on it that have just been there over time and through some ATV traffic that we're going to have to try to manage. But it's a great place just to go out and walk in the woods.
Wonderful. Caitlin, thank you very much. You just talked a little bit about why you've done what you've done and how it all
You
feels.
don't know I've done what I've done, but it's been a long time dream to donate some land that could be used as a nature preserve. And I had the fortune that I inherited some, and I had a team that was supportive of my doing it. So
Right.
I'm appreciative to the Land Conservancy for accepting it.
And nobody ever does it alone. And it must have been great fun to have surveyed this land just from the little look that I had.
Oh, it was. We started out as a very large tract, about 400 acres or so. And, it's been a learning experience and a pleasure to work on this project over a good long period of time.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I'm glad she was able to donate land for the nature preserve. It's fairly rugged, especially out on the north end.
Right.
So I think it's a good use.
That's
Good
wonderful.
use.
Yeah. And it's a long ways from Santa Barbara.
Yes, it is. But the country is even more beautiful than where I live, and I hope everyone in North Carolina appreciates the very wonderful landscape.
A lot of us do. Thank you.
That's great.